Hello and welcome to the Harry Man Show, number 42. Today we have a really badass drummer, solid, hard hitting. He's played in some of the really great metal acts I've been watching over the years, and he's currently playing with Corey Taylor back in the CMFT album, but he's played in bands as such as Walls of Jericho and Bury Your Dead. How you doing, Dustin?
Hey, how are you, Dustin?
Good, good. Yeah, it's weird to say your own name. I can't really ever get good at that.
Right?
And that name kind of dates you in a way, too.
Does it? Is Dustin an old name?
I think it's a 90s kid name, in my opinion. Every time I meet someone with the same name, they're the 90s Ninja Turtle kid.
Well, I'm not a 90s Ninja. Actually, I am a 90s Ninja Turtle kid. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so it's either it's either like late 80s, early 90s kind of name. So yeah, it's a cool name in my opinion.
That makes sense. Hey, I feel the same way. I definitely don't hate my name.
Yeah. I really appreciate you coming in. Like I was saying, you're recently playing with Corey Taylor, which is huge. We'll dive into that a little bit, but I kind of want to talk about what you've done in your past. I mean, you obviously you're a big hitter in the band Walls of Jericho, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But I kind of want to start. How did you get into Walls of Jericho?
When I was young, I was like 16, 17. There was I live about an hour south of Detroit, and Detroit hardcore scene in the 90s was massive. Cold as Life was big. This band called Earth Mover was big too. They were the new generation of hardcore then, and we knew down here in Toledo that like if we were going to be in the scene, because that was what you wanted to do, that we needed to be in touch with the Earth Mover dude. So we ended up kind of through this band that I was in called Next to Nothing. I joined that band when I was 17. We started doing stuff that signed us to Andy from Earth Mover's label, Plus Minus Records, who put a 7-inch out and toured with Earth Mover quite a bit. And Earth Mover disbanded shortly after and formed from the ashes of that Walls of Jericho. So I knew everybody in that band as that band was forming. And then Next to Nothing kind of went away. And we formed a band called Premonitions of War.
Nice.
From the remaining members of Next to Nothing. And we went and did our thing. We did an EP on Goodfellow and did our first tours with Every Time I Die, their first tours. And then Walls of Jericho were friends. You know, they had taken Next to Nothing on tour before, knew that we were out there, and definitely a different band. So we did a lot of stuff with Walls of Jericho. And then when their original drummer, Wes, left the band to move out west to go to college, they asked me then, but, you know, Premonitions was doing our stuff, and we were getting ready to sign to a cool label and, you know, all the things that happen when you're that age and doing all that stuff. And then I did my run with Premonitions. We signed to Victory, put a record out, did a bunch of crazy touring with all these awesome death metal bands. And then my time had kind of run its course with that band. It was time for me to move on. And I knew that Walls was looking through a friend of mine. Actually, I was with the Bury Your Dead guys.
Yeah.
We did a show in Seattle together, Premonitions and Bury Your Dead. And they knew that I was pretty unhappy. And I was like, look, I'm ready to be done with this crap. And they were like, yo, Walls of Jericho's looking for a drummer for real. And I was like, no way. So, and, you know, they've been friends. I mean, Mike from Walls of Jericho basically started my career for me in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool. Like I called them. They just got back from Europe, and they were thinking about getting a hold of me too. And it just really worked out in a really great way. I think I'd left Premonitions of War right before Thanksgiving, and I had joined Walls of Jericho like not even 2 weeks later.
Well, I like to say,
was in rehearsal with them.
You fit that Walls of Jericho like a glove. Was it a big transition, or was it just kind of a similar styles for you?
I think it was kind of a bit of both. Because Premonitions of War, we were really kind of dabbling in a lot of death metal stuff. There's a lot of blasting and grind and double bass going on.
Mm-hmm.
And we were really getting away from hardcore and going real dirty. You know, we really liked all the His Hero Is Gone and all the Crime Think stuff. That was the stuff that really hit home with us. So we really liked those types of bands. And Walls of Jericho came up in that too, but they had a little bit more of a refined sound.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I had to be a little bit more polished being in that band.
Mm-hmm.
I definitely had to work on parts. The drummer that was before Wes, obviously, when he did Bound Feed the Gag in the demo, and I mean, he's a killer drummer. He's still a killer drummer. And then when Alexi came on board, I mean, he's from Catharsis, which is like one of my favorite like metal hardcore bands ever.
Mm-hmm.
So, it was awesome to kind of growing up with him. I mean, we did all the stuff with Catharsis years and years before that. So it was cool to like step into his shoes because he's such an incredible drummer and learn what he was doing, So it took me probably about 2 weeks of just sitting down in a room on my drums and just figuring out what was happening. But once we got into rehearsals and stuff, it was pretty smooth for the most part.
Yeah, I have to pay you a compliment. I love watching your drum cam videos because all your fills are tight knit. They're always the same. And I have to ask, are you playing with a click?
Mm-hmm. No click with Walls of Jericho ever.
Yeah, that's you got a solid meter, man. I have to definitely play a huge compliment. It's not many guys can do that in a metal band without a click. And your chops are always on point, and your fills. But yeah, like you were saying, Walls of Jericho has kind of like a more bombastic, tight sound. So I can see how you have to kind of tighten the nuts and bolts on that one a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, Premonitions was definitely a little more chaotic, but there was still some structure there.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a difference between a 3.5 minute Walls of Jericho song and literally a 1:10 Premonitions of War song.
Oh yeah.
So it was just more about like just pacing myself and just like understanding like, hey man, like you need to just play this stuff super clean, and just that was the way I always really approached the Walls of Jericho thing. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and kind of back up. I know we before the show we talked about how you were self-taught. What bands were you listening to when you were teaching yourself? Was it kind of the same genre? Were you kind of all over the place with it, like most teenagers?
Well, I grew up in it. My dad and uncle and older brother are all drummers.
Oh, really?
So like it was like a competition. Like my dad played in cover bands with my mom when I was a kid.
Oh, nice.
My uncle did the same thing. That was my dad's younger brother. He played in cover bands and then my brother was in band until he became a football player. And, it was always just like music was always in our house. Like my earliest memories ever as a kid is like, seeing my parents' record player spinning a Journey record. You know what I mean? Like nice. I'll never ever forget that in my life. Going like, whoa, what's that? So I grew up with just a large variety of music in my life. My mom loved like Motown and Steely Dan and all that kind of stuff, Toto. And then my dad was like a total rocker. He loved Zappa for sure, The Who for sure, Led Zeppelin for sure, like all, because he's a drummer. So like any guy back then in the 60s and 70s and even in the 80s, he was all about like the mega drummer, bands. Yeah, anybody that had a monster drummer, he's like, you got to listen to this, And then once I became a teenager, it was like, I'm the youngest in my family. So then it was like my older brother's like, you got to listen to the Misfits, dude. You got to listen to this. I'm like, okay, cool. And then eventually once you get old enough, you can start playing along with stuff. So by the time I started playing the drums on a regular basis and not just like jumping on whenever I could, it was just a whole variety of music.
Yeah, I kind of.
I just played along to everything.
I grew up in a very similar situation, to be honest with you. But did you guys all share the same drum kit, or did you have like a drum room in the house?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, what kind of?
No. It was like it was an old Slingerland. Actually, I still have most of it.
Oh, nice.
Some of it was lost in transition, but some of it's still around. So that was my dad's kit that he bought in the 70s. I want to say early 70s.
Nice.
So I went from there, and
so you definitely had that stuff around you, so that kind of made it easy. And the competition is also a really good thing in the drummer's way, I think, in my opinion. Was your brother in the same kind of genre as well?
Yeah, I mean, he listened to. He's the one that really got me into like thrash metal. Oh, so nice. Like he was all about like when Metallica came out and like Anthrax, Slayer, all that stuff. Like when that stuff came out, Megadeth even, he was like, you have to listen to this drumming, especially Anthrax. Like Charlie Benante to me is like literally the most genius drummer in metal ever. I don't think anybody still to this day can really touch him. There's all these guys that have YouTube channels that do all this cool odd time stuff. And I'm like, dude, that's cute. But like, let's talk about 40 years of Charlie Benante basically reinventing metal drumming and keeping it fresh. Yeah, ever since day one. So it's like, that guy, listening to him, and like listening to like State of Euphoria or something, you're like, what the fuck did he just play?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's got some
back then it was tapes.
Yeah, he's got some badass cymbal patterns. That's one thing I listened to him with his bride bell and all that stuff.
He's incredible, man. He's just the most versatile. He's probably one of the most versatile musicians, let alone drummers. I mean, you got to understand, he writes a lot of the stuff in Anthrax too. So like, he shreds guitar. Like, he can play the piano. He can play the drums. I mean, the dude is like just nonstop musical talent. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, he's also a Simpson fanatic, right? Am I getting the right guy there? Yeah, he's got a whole.
Yeah. He's a total. From what I understand, he loves the Simpsons.
Yeah,
I mean, he's like the typical. He's a typical like dude, like all of us, like Star Wars, and Simpsons. All the cool shit that you like.
Yeah,
he's into all that stuff. From what I understand.
Yeah,
I don't really know the guy, so I can't speak on him.
Yeah, the one thing on that note, I think it's important that you don't just just stick on drums. You got to have something on the outside to come back to drums. That's what I found was important in life. You can't just do it 100% because you start to wear yourself out pretty fast there.
Yeah, for sure.
Yes.
That's easy to do it that way.
Yeah, so
burnout is very real, especially with drumming, because you're just like, ugh.
It's bad when you're timing yourself in your practice, and it's like, okay, if I'm timing myself, I'm doing something wrong here. You know what I mean? You gotta want to come out.
Yeah, because you want to be. You gotta want to be there all the time. If you don't want to be there, then don't even waste your time.
Yeah,
because that's all you're doing.
I've learned that the hard way. But I kind of wanted. You were just talking about doing Walls of Jericho. I noticed you played a double kick of CNC, and you're playing a single kick now. Was it a hard transition to go from double kick to a single kick?
Well, it was actually from single kick to double kick. I've always been a single kick player.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then when CNC approached me, or vice versa, whichever one it was, when we started talking to each other, my first kit with them was a single bass kit, but then my second kit with them, we were getting ready to spend the summer on full Slipknot.
Oh, wow.
So we had just did a new record. We did the American Dream, and then we did the Redemption EP with Corey like a few months before that. So we'd been hanging out with him quite a bit and writing with him. And then we went our separate ways. They went and did All Hope Is Gone. We went and did the American Dream. And then he's like, "Oh, you guys want to come on this crazy ass tour with us?" And we're like, "Yeah."
Yeah, I bet.
So
yeah.
I told CNC like, "Yo, you're gonna be the only company on this massive tour, this metal tour. Like, I think I should roll out wearing, playing a double bass kit." And Bill from CNC was like, "Yes, you should." So I did like a whole kind of like more of a Ginger Baker style kit, where it's like, it was the two kick drums and then the one rack.
Yeah.
To me, that's like classic. And if I ever go back to a double bass, that's what it'll be. It'll always be like, it'll be two kick drums, one center rack tom. And now I have like some concert toms and some other stuff that I've been adding on. Kind of fun.
Yeah. So were they both the same size? 222? Were they 222s or 224s?
224s.
Nice. That's the way to do it.
I think I have 122. I only play 122 right now with one of my DW kits. I still have that CNC kit. Actually, I'm actually sitting on it right now. It's my at-home practice kit.
Nice.
I'll never get rid of it because, it's like your first real drum. I mean, the one that they made me the first time, was like, "Hey, we got this thing for you. Cool." But this one, I actually went into the factory with them, and like, they had like a tuning fork, and we got the shells and made sure it was all right. And, it was like a custom kit. So I was like, "I'm never getting rid of this."
Yeah, that's a beautiful kit. There was silver and red one, right? If I'm correct.
It's blue, silver, and red. Yeah, it was basically to match the American Dream artwork for that Walls of Jericho record. And then I was just like, man, it's such a classic looking, kit that I'm just never gonna get rid of it.
Yeah,
so I still have it to this day.
All right. So, before the show, we were talking about how you guys are more of a grassroots when you do Wall of Jericho. You do more of the European stuff. How do you feel about having a drum tech versus having a drum tech? I mean, not having a drum tech. I mean,
I'm just now starting really to get a drum tech on a regular basis doing CMFT, which is really great. Just because I'm adding more to the drum kit. Like I have a gong drum now, concert toms, splashes, and stuff like that. So it's kind of a little more involved. I don't really have a preference either one. It's like I'm just such an easygoing person when it comes to that. It's like if a band calls me, or if Walls is like, "Hey, we're going to go over to Europe," or "Hey, we're going to go to the US," I don't ever expect to have a tech because that's just part of the gig.
Yeah.
when Corey calls me and he says, "Hey, we're going to do this," or "Hey, we're going to do that," I don't ever expect to have a tech. I just kind of wait until the powers that be say, "Hey, man, who do you want to tech for you?" I'm like, "Oh, cool, we're getting a tech." You know what I mean?
Yeah. So that's what I was going to ask. Is that where you started building a relationship with Corey? Was on that Slipknot tour?
No, we met randomly in '04. I did a show for Stone Sour on the first record. I was a promoter rep.
Oh, nice.
And at that show, some stuff had happened within the band that was kind of a memorable night. And then I kind of hung out with them or whatever, and we met. And then 2 years later, we're on tour. Walt is on the Family Values tour with Stone Sour.
Badass.
So he really liked Walls of Jericho. Actually, everybody on that tour, Korn specifically asked us to be on that tour, which was really crazy for us.
Yeah.
And we were just like, okay, cool. So everybody was very accommodating coming on that tour. And then, of course, the Stone Sour guys, they're like the nicest dudes in the world. Mm-hmm. So they really liked us. And then Corey just took a liking to us, and we took a liking to him. And then him and I just, we stayed friends throughout the years after that tour. We worked together on his stuff. We worked together on Wall's stuff. And we just hung out whenever we weren't on tour. If I was around or he was around, hey, come hang out. All right, cool. Or whatever was going on. So we just forged our friendship after that. And then it's just been like that ever since.
Yeah, I have to pay major. I've been idolizing Corey Taylor, what he's been doing. He's a man of many talents, I believe, since I was pretty much when Slipknot blew up, working with him. I mean, was that kind of, is it still surreal, or is he an easy guy to work with?
He's not like it's not surreal to me because he's just Corey, he's a massive talent. He's very passionate, and he's not going to come in and bullshit you, which speaks to me because that's how I am. I'm not the talent part, but the no bullshit part.
Yeah.
I just, we're both very upfront people. So, and we're both very similar in, musical tastes and all that kind of stuff. So to me, working with him, it was just like working with somebody that is on the same page. So it was just easy for us to make that transition. Like, hey, we're going to go work with Corey on an acoustic album just because we can, and he made it the most comfortable situation for a band like Walls of Jericho to do that. So when I work with him now, like, it's kind of surreal. Like, once the song is done, because you're just like, whoa, we did that. You know what I mean? You're like, whoa.
Yeah. He's definitely in my top five favorite vocalists. I just like his range. I mean, I know he could push it, and then he just got better over time with his melodies and stuff as well.
Yeah, he definitely gets better with age for sure. He's just, the guy is so relentless in talent and just constantly pushing himself. I mean, when we got asked to do this album, the members that are a part of this group, we have all known each other forever. And it was crazy to go into the studio, and then Corey goes, "Hey man, I taught myself how to play piano 2 years ago, and I got this song." And then he just plays, and we're like, "What the fuck are you talking about? You taught yourself how to play piano 2 years ago? Okay."
Yeah.
And then he gets up there, and there's Home off the last CMFT record. I'm just like, what the fuck is going on? This guy can do anything. You know?
I have to admit that CMFT has been heavy rotation in this household. Was that the first album you recorded with Corey?
Album, yeah. But this is the first time I've recorded his album with him. I did an acoustic album with him, producing and writing with Walls, and then throughout the years of just hanging with him on a regular basis, I've heard various versions of various songs. I mean, Samantha's Gone, I heard that song in 2009.
Oh, really?
So,
oh wow,
yeah, the song's been sitting there for a while.
Black Eyed Blues, so, I have to say, is my favorite one, to be honest with you.
Oh, nice. That's a good song. I like it.
Yeah,
I don't have a favorite one on the record. I like this record is one of the first records in a long time for me personally that I actually enjoy. Like, I'll put it on and be like, I don't even care that I played on the album. It's like, this is a fun record to listen to, where I haven't had that same reaction for Walls of Jericho in a long time, because it's Walls of Jericho. Of course, I love playing it, but I don't listen to that kind of stuff on a regular basis.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's a rare feat, to be honest with you.
Yeah. It's just like, so it's cool to finally be able to just go, man, I like actually listening to this record on a regular basis. I think my wife and child get tired of it because I'm always listening to it. But, I'm always rehearsing it too. And, Corey's constantly throwing hey, let's work on this song, or how about we play this cover, all that kind of stuff. And he's really big on like, hey, we need to have like 50 songs under our belt if we ever go on the road or when we go on the road, so we can just do whatever we want to do. That's kind of his goal, which is cool because it pushes us too.
Yeah. And as we were mentioning earlier, you made the switch to DW, and I'm a DW guy, a DW and Lubbock guy myself, but you have some beautiful kits. I think you're playing the Black Ice setup and the Silver Sparkle is what I was seeing there. But yeah, traditionally, are you playing 1 up, 2 down, and then Pancake and high toms as well, right?
Yes, that for this gig, yeah, for sure. That's what I added onto it, according to the songs that we're playing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how I built the kit up too. When Corey's like, hey, we're gonna do Snuff and we're gonna do this Stone Sour song and blah blah blah. In my world, in my head, I have such a massive respect for Roy Mayorga and for Jay and for Joey, because all three of them are incredible players. Mm-hmm. When Corey says, hey, you got to play these songs, to me, it's like, I have to play them perfect.
Yeah.
Especially the Roy songs, because Roy is a major, major influence for me. Not only is just the greatest guy, but he's always been very, really good about guiding me in the right direction. You need to be playing, play, keep playing, and all that. He's very much believed in me since the first day we ever really met. Yeah. So, when I have to play a song that Roy played on, it's like, I have to give my respects to Roy and Jay and Joey and just say, I got to play these songs perfect for them,
Yeah.
Because out of respect, that's just what you do.
Yeah. And Roy rocks that big floor tom right in front of him. I always thought that was badass. And his setup, he kind of does he does that similar gong drum like you do as well. And yeah, you guys do.
Yeah.
You guys definitely have similar styles, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I mean, I basically, I don't try to rip them off, but
no, that's not what I'm getting at.
I definitely have a lot of influence. Yeah, I definitely have Roy is a huge influence on me, just because his approach to drumming is the right approach. He looks at it in a musical aspect. I'm sorry. As opposed to just being like, I'm just gonna bash on these drums and show off. He's just like, no, like the drums. When you listen to his fills and all the stuff that he does, it goes along with the guitar riffs, and he's just very musical in his writing. Mm-hmm. And I love that about him. You know what I mean? But then he's one of those guys too that he's like, oh, you want me to shred? Check this shit out. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck did he just play?
Yeah. I geek out on his like home recording videos he does with those odd times and stuff. I'll sit there and just watch him like, man, this guy's badass, dude. Like, it's not,
Yeah, he knows what he's doing for sure.
Yeah.
And he plays bass, and I mean, he's killer, man. He's killer all around.
So I want to get back to your setup. Are you playing the maple shells?
Yeah, they sent me the Michigan maple shell.
Oh,
they're
nice.
really, really nice.
Nice.
Which is kind of cool, so being from my area and all that. So, but yeah, I got the Michigan maple. I'm actually working on I think I'm gonna rock for this one. I've been working on putting together a PDP concept maple kit. Have you seen those with the wood hoops?
Yeah. I actually have one.
So do you?
Yeah.
So I'm putting together a version of what I play now with that drum setup. I really, really like them.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the first thing my DW rep told me when I came on board, he's like, look, if you need a kit, like a very inexpensive kit that's going to just go on the road and do its thing, he's like, you can't afford to not get one of these.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So I got all the collector series stuff, and I have my the kit that DW. I have 2 DW kits. I have an all white collectors, and then I have a white crushed glass and black hardware.
Oh, nice.
Performance series. That one's awesome. Yeah. That one's just, man, it's great. But the new one I'm working on now is going to be a concept maple, PDP concept maple. And they really stepped their game up. So I just want to check that out and see how that goes for me on the road.
You're going to be impressed with the dynamics of it too, especially in the toms. I didn't realize how much I rim shot on the toms until I started playing one of those. So I had to kind of set up a little bit more tilted a little bit, but you're going to notice a big difference in dynamics. Trust me.
Good. I'm looking forward to it. I've been, obviously working on it for a little while, and hopefully I have it for if we do some touring this year.
Nice.
I'll have it ready to go.
And then cymbal wise, are you playing more, conservative sizes, or are you kind of rocking the bigger like Walls of Jericho size cymbals?
It's bigger for sure. Right now I'm a Sabian guy, so I use it's a 15-inch hi-hat, and it's a cross between an HHX and HHX metal, and I believe it's an AAX groove, or maybe it's backwards. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
All the markings are washed away on my hi-hats because I've had them forever.
Nice.
So I'm using that. I did add a couple little auxiliary things. Like I added a Z-bell, a splash, and a mini hi-hat, or a mini China, the Holy China, which is awesome.
Yeah, those things are great.
Those are all for like just the, like, you know, there's a lot of weird cymbal sounds and accent stuff for Slipknot and Stone Sour.
Mm-hmm.
Crash-wise, it's 18. I use 18, 19, and 20-inch crashes. And there are a variety from Paragon to AAX Explosions to AAX Metals. I really do like the Paragon stuff. I think the Paragon stuff is just super versatile.
Yes.
In any real aspect, with whatever I'm doing. And then my biggest cymbal that I'm playing right now is I've been really using the 24-inch bash ride.
Oh, nice.
I use that actually on the CMFT record, which it turned out that's sounding really good. I wish I would have had a little bit more of a metal bell on some of that stuff,
mm-hmm.
which I used on some of the stuff, but the 24-inch bash is definitely a great cymbal.
Now, were you using
that's what I'm doing now.
Are you using the same setup while you were recording that album as well?
Yeah. It's all the same stuff. Actually, I'd use the exact same cymbals for recording that I used for the forum show and for the secret show that we did. So it's all the same stuff.
Yeah, and since we're talking about that, I know it's kind of a rough thing, but are you guys holding out until probably later this year or next year to kind of go back out on the road there?
They're trying. I mean, Corey wants to get out as soon as possible. So,
mm-hmm.
I mean, it could happen in May at the earliest. It really just depends on the world.
Nice.
So he wants to get out, and Slipknot has their stuff all lined up, from what I understand, and he wants to fill in the blanks with CMFT. So we're just kind of hanging out until we hear more, you know.
Yeah, he's definitely a workaholic. I mean, it seems like, you know.
He's a workaholic, man. And I respect him even more just because, you know, when you really look at that dude's career, you know, from 99 until right now,
mm-hmm.
he didn't have a break.
Yeah.
No break. I mean, I've known him since 2006. I've never, ever seen Corey take a real break. I remember one time talking to him recently, a couple years ago. Hadn't talked to him in a while. And I'm like, hey, he reached out to me or whatever. And he's like, I'm in Bora Bora. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing in Bora Bora? He's like, I'm taking a vacation. And I'm like, what the fuck is a vacation? You know what I mean? Because that just doesn't exist in his world, or really in a lot of our world, you know?
Yeah.
So, because we're always just grinding. But that guy, especially, I remember hanging out with Jim when Jim was doing both bands. And he's a great guy, too. And I remember him just being like, dude, we don't take breaks. And I was like, that's true. You guys don't take breaks.
Yeah. And I know Slipknot was a little harder on their bodies too, but I like I said, I've been watching him since I was a teenager. I mean, you're in a great position with him. I'm kind of envious, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I really got lucky getting this gig for sure. There was definitely other people that were up in the pool, you know, that were, I feel, are better than me, but you know, this is Corey's choice. He feels like that I was the guy for it versus anybody else. So I say it all the time, even when we're together hanging out. Yeah, I'm just happy to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just that's been my whole approach with that gig, especially, is I'm just happy to be here. Just tell me what you need me to do, and I'm doing it.
Yeah. I kind of want to talk about you. We were discussing you do a band called the Imposters. You kind of do some tribute stuff, and I want to tell everybody about the Beastie Boy project you do. It sounds badass. So I definitely want to check it out myself.
Yeah, so I do this. I do a Beastie Boys tribute group called the Imposters in Effect.
Nice.
And it's a straight Beastie Boys tribute act. It's all live band. I play drums for 3 hours of Beastie Boys. I got with VW, and we built a lowrider bike drum set out of a lowrider bike trike and VW.
And it's great.
Helped me put that together.
This looks badass too.
It's super fun. We were trying to use it for CMFT, but I was like, man, I don't know if I could play CMFT on this kit without breaking everything.
Yeah.
So, but there's talks of an appearance with that. We'll see what happens.
Yes.
I mean, if I can do it, I'm going to do it,
Nice.
And then, so we just kind of go around and we play a lot of casinos and, we do like the machine shop and cool stuff. We were just out here in the neck of the woods last year. We did the Hell City Tattoo Convention, which is super fun.
Mm-hmm.
So we stay pretty busy. That's kind of how I kind of fill in the blanks when I'm not touring with anything else that I'm doing.
Nice. Yeah, so you're definitely staying busy.
It's a fun one.
Yeah. Well,
yeah, you have to.
Yeah. So, and you were as we were talking about Walls of Jericho, is kind of in the same boat. You guys are just kind of waiting it out, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hearing when you guys are going back out too. Hopefully, pretty soon here as well.
Yeah, there was talks of Europe at some point, and we'd go over there and do the festivals. I believe we were supposed to go over there this past summer, but obviously with the Corona, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
And then that's really it for now. I mean, I do a bunch of other stuff. I play in cover bands. I play for country people.
Nice.
All the things. Anything I can do to keep myself extremely versatile, I'm going to do.
Nice. Well, Dustin, it's a real pleasure to have you on the show. I mean, I know you're a busy guy.
You as well.
Yeah, I'm really appreciative of you taking the time out. And then, like I said, I've been watching you for
no problem.
The last 5 to 10 years now, and then, yeah, I'm definitely motivated to keep practicing my chops when I listen to Walls of Jericho.
I definitely need to. I need to start getting on my social media again. I've been kind of absent all year, so that's actually a goal of mine. I have a YouTube page, and my Instagram's okay, my Twitter's okay, but I need to start doing some play along videos for some of the stuff that I've been doing, just so.
Yeah, I think so too.
People can learn, do all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
definitely a thing. So hopefully my social medias get a little better here now that I'm going to have some more time to do it.
Yeah, and I would be happy to help in any way I can with that as well. But yeah, like I said, I can't thank you enough. And till next time, Dustin, we'll see you when you're in town. Thanks a lot, Dustin.
No problem. Talk to you soon, Dustin.